Man, this is live. Anything can happen. Man, this is live. Anything can happen. Man, this is live. Anything can happen. Man, this is live. Anything can happen.
And what if you fuck up?
Man, this is live. Anything can happen.
I'd be pissed scared I'd get a boner or fucking fart or something.
Man, this is live. Anything can happen.
Shut the fuck up, man. You're making me nervous.
Welcome back to the Junk Room. We're back live, guys. What's up? I'm gonna have a few minutes to get people in here. We got a Q&A tonight, probably for about, if I don't knock the camera over, about an hour, maybe about an hour, with Blake Wright. He has a book, Toys That Time Forgot. And if you're a fan of my channel, if you watch my channel, you know I love unreleased toys. I've got an actual playlist of unreleased vintage action figures, and let's see, we got 55. I got 55 different videos, unreleased toys. I mean, from the Kenner, the car game, of course, a lot of Star Wars stuff, sea creatures. A lot of people like that video. $6 Million Man, diner saucers. Just going over my list here, what other ones I went through here. Dallas, but he did a whole book on unreleased action figures. I think it's just action figures. We'll get into him asking. Hopefully you guys got some questions you'd like to ask him too. Let's check over. I'm going to get some more people in here. Is the message board gone for good? I don't know what the message board is, but what message board? We got Pew Pew. We've got, the message board back here. It'll come back. I like that Mario sign, so I just got to find another place to put it. And a big shout out to Mick becoming a new member of the channel. Thank you so much. I need a member video to play. I don't think I'll play this one for
Fighting the Frizzies at 11.
There you go. A little short clip because I don't want to leave Blake waiting all day right there. Let's just hop over a few more here. What's up? Wild Bill? What's up? Let's see. We'll be back Wednesday live to play Jeopardy. We hadn't played Jeopardy in a long time. We took a break. So Wednesday, 7 o'clock, Jeopardy. Here's Blake Wright, Toys That Time Forgot. Here, well, I'm glad you're here for him. Hopefully you'll stay for Junk Man. The board. Yeah, I got what you meant, the board back there. It took me a minute, but I got it. Okay. We'll bring him on in here. Here now is everyone. I need a little intro video. I don't have one. Here is Blake Wright. There he is. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing good. So we'll just start. What got you interested in this book? Why did you want to spend your time putting this book together?
That's a good question. It was part of something that I started back in 2014. I had a little online guitar magazine that I'd launched a couple of years previous, and it did real well. And I really enjoyed the template that I came up with for it. So I wanted to try to duplicate that in another genre. And then when you're talking 2014, most of the toy magazines were gone by then. Toy Fair was gone. Yeah. Toy March was hanging on by a thread, but it was really inconsistent. Lee's was already gone. So I did an online toy magazine as a quarterly in 2014. And one of the columns that appeared in that was called prototypically unproductive. So it was all these unproduced toys. And we did the second series of Sectors. We did the second series of Earthworm Jim. We did Palisades Sesame Street. And we did the sale of soda toys. And everyone really liked that column a lot, but I couldn't keep doing the magazine. I had day job commitments got out of hand and other things. And so I was going to do one more issue and have it all be unproduced toys because that's what everyone really liked. And the more that I dug into, the history and everything, I just kind of decided it needed to be more than just a PDF on the internet. Someone should really, put together a book on this sort of thing. And so I went to Toy Fair the next year in February 2015. I dummied up like 20 pages of what a book might look like and took it to my sources and contacts and said, hey, talk me out of doing this, basically. And no one did. They were all like, oh, this is great, man. How can we help? Blah, blah, blah. So after that, I came home and, I hadn't written a book before, but I've been a journalist all my life. I went to college, got a degree and everything. So I started writing the book, and that's what happened. 2 years later, out popped Toys That Time Forgot Volume 1.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing because some of that, there's a lot of toy books come out and you're like, he's just showing you the pictures of everything we've seen 100 times before. So it was good when I found out about your book. I said, that's different. I'm a big fan of unreleased stuff, and my videos usually do pretty good here when I do unreleased toys. Is the book just action figures?
It is. It's all boys action. Mainly because, that's what I grew up with and, that's what I knew. And so the actual title of the book is Toys That Time Forgot, A Visual History of Unproduced Action Figures, Volume 1.
Okay. Did you get any help with the toy companies?
Yeah, actually. Some of the bigger ones, didn't really have time for me, but, there were other ones. Playmates was really good to me. I went and had meetings with them in their office over by LAX a handful of times, talking about, Turtles and Earthworm Jim and a lot of Darkwing Duck and a lot of the lines that were kind of one and done for them in the 90s. Other NECA has been really good to me. There's been a few others. But mainly, I really wanted to get to the source of some of these lines. So I've actually sought out, the actual inventors. Sometimes this stuff is inventor based, and so you go and find the people that actually pitched it to the toy company, who then bought it. That didn't happen so much anymore. It still does a little bit, but not as much as it used to.
Yeah.
I would talk to the inventors. I would talk to the guys who were there in the sculpting departments, doing the actual prototypes. I would talk with, and former executives who, were in the trenches when some of this stuff was getting made or not getting made.
Yeah. Yeah. I did an interview with the guy that created Sea Creatures. He also did the, Sea Creatures never got released. So I'm not sure how people would know it. And, Dungeons and Dragons, he did those figures, and he still had prototypes of all those sitting in his office when I was interviewing, just right there.
Yeah, Rich Rowland. He's a good guy.
Yeah, Rich. I can't think of his name. Yeah, really good guy. And if you talk to Playmates, I wish I could find out what happened to those. Deep Space Nine did a unreleased the ship, not Deep Space Nine.
Sequest.
Sequest, yeah. And then the ship was shown off at Toy Fair, and no one's ever seen it since then, as far as I know.
Yeah, I haven't seen much about unproduced Sequest.
No,
out there, but I'm sure. Like I said, if they showed it, then it existed at one time for sure.
That's the bad thing. It's probably trashed or reused for something else. Yeah, reused. So it's not just vintage era. It's, you go up to NECA too. You said, right? Yeah.
So we did. The first book was, and all the books have been broken up into 3 sections. Basically 80s, 90s, and aughts. So but I don't call them that because I didn't want to be defined hard by hard dates because a lot of this stuff can bleed over. So we did the first section is called the Golden Age. The second section is called Darker Times, and the third section is called the Gilded Age. So
Why darker time?
well, the 90s were just weird, man.
Yeah.
You know, go back and look at some of the stuff Toy Biz was doing in the 90s or you know, and like I said, with Playmates, so much one and done stuff. I mean, they just couldn't, you know, and it took the revival of Star Wars to really breathe life back into what was going on in action figures, it seems like.
Yeah, right there about the mid-90s. And then you had the collector's boom really starting to pick up. So we got a question from Machine Man. Any companies not to let you use their material?
Well, some of a good part of what I collected was material that's already outside of these companies. I mean, I didn't get to go into anybody's archives and dig real deep into anything like that. Oh, except for Playmates gave me some access. But as far as, I mean, a lot of this stuff's out in the wild. You just have to know where to find it.
Yeah.
Either you know, the person that worked on it may still have some of it, or if it's an artist who did concept drawings, may still have some of those. You know, prototypes walked out the back door constantly. And there's a whole, you know, collector market for, you know, both prototypes of produced and unproduced stuff. It's just a matter of finding it. So, you know, the only company that really told me no, and they didn't tell me no just flat out, they just said they don't like talking about the past, was McFarlane.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's surprised on that one.
Yeah.
But I've heard some things too from them, so I guess I'm not too surprised. There was one in your book that I don't think, I mean, like you said, a lot of this stuff was online already, but was it Dark Crystal? Was that the one? Is that in your book?
Dark Crystal's the first chapter in the first book. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's about the one when I first heard about your book. It shocked me. I was like, I don't think I've heard about them, but I think it's the first time I've seen the prototypes.
Yeah. They were in the 83 Hasbro catalog. Toy Fair, if you imagine to hunt one of those down, it costs you about $250 now on the aftermarket, but I had one for a while. I think I ended up selling mine, as a matter of fact. But I managed to talk with one of the guys who both worked for Henson and was called in to help with the toys when Hasbro got the license. It was they had a very short window to make those figures. So Hasbro sent some of their team over to Henson, and they worked side by side to come up with the toy concepts for Dark Crystal. It just so happens one of the guys who was the art director on the Henson side is from my hometown, and so he ended up living like 10 minutes from my mother. So we actually had lunch, you know, at a burger joint in my mom's neighborhood, and we talked about the toys, and he had actually had a set of the prototypes that I was able to photograph and you know, get some really good access to them. So
yeah, that's pretty good. A lot of these, you know, the designers and everything held on some of this stuff, so that's really good. And like you said, end up some in the collector's hand. I bet nowadays these toy companies are a little bit more tight with their prototypes, I would think. You would think. I mean, a lot of stuff nowadays is, I mean, prototypes can be 3D printed. You know, they can be. They've actually become a little bit more disposable now than they probably were back then. It's not as difficult to make. Yeah, I think they know now that, hey, don't throw them away. We can auction them all for something. Did Playmates do a prototype of the Cerberus? I hope I said that right. Figure as part of the Turtles line, or was it just announced and never worked on? Do you know anything about that? I don't. And plus, when you talk about turtles, what are you talking about? You talking about vintage turtles? You talking about which iteration? Yeah, so many lines of turtles. Yeah, there's just so many lines of turtles. I haven't heard of a Cerberus prototype from the actual vintage line, but there's a really cool book out about turtles
if you're into it, called Rad Plastic by a friend of mine. I think you can go to radplastic.com. Chris Fawcett, his name. But
okay. Had a question and I lost it. Hold on just a second. I enjoyed my first copy of Volume 1, especially the topic of Trademasters of Moses Jones. I didn't even realize they did figures of that one, so he got me on that one.
They actually did a ton of stuff for Osmosis Jones and ended up not putting it out for whatever reason. Trendmasters, it was a kind of a strange company. They were in St. Louis, kind of isolated there. They weren't on the East Coast, they weren't on the West Coast. They did that line. They did some Godzilla stuff that was never released. They did a lot of Trendmasters had a lot of stuff that was got pretty far down the pike, but was for whatever reason was never released. Osmosis Jones had had figures, vehicles, different little play, smaller size figures, bigger figures. I mean, there was a ton of different scales, but yeah, they just didn't release them.
I got you. Let's see here. Was it difficult task to convince toy makers or collectors of unproduced prototypes to be featured in the book?
Volume 1, especially because I wasn't a known commodity. No one knew who I was. It was just I was kind of coming out of the blue. So I had to do some work and earn some trust because these guys didn't know what my real agenda was. I could have just been. I'm sure they've been approached many times with people who are writing books. So the fact that I was able to get the first one, do the first one, get it out, do the second one, get it out, and now have the third one that's getting ready to go to the printer. So once I built the credibility, you start earning, these guys become vouchers for you. When you have they want to refer you to another guy and say, hey, this guy is actually legit. He's written these books. If you want to talk to him, here he is. And so that, helped a great deal in expanding my network and getting a lot of information in these books that otherwise wouldn't have been there.
That's good. So you got 3 volumes altogether.
Yeah, there's 3.
That's got to be getting tight by the third one. Is there a 4th one in you?
Actually, man, I could write 10 of these books. There's that much information out there. There's that much unproduced stuff out there.
Yeah, I need your help. I think I got well, most of it's Star Wars, but I got a lot of videos on unreleased stuff, and now I'm just like digging for unreleased stuff to talk about. So I need to get all your volumes.
It's I've run this number past a bunch of different toy companies, and they all seem to agree that we probably only see about 30 to 35% of what they actually work on ever hit store shelves.
Oh, really? That high.
So think about that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of unproduced stuff.
Yeah, I think the most, going back to the 70s, I don't know if you touched on it, was Patrick Duffy had a toy line from a
Man from Atlanta
TV show. Yeah, and they had toys, that had promotion, they had everything ready to go with that. And just
they ended up, when I think the show got canceled before they could get it out. Then the second year they changed it to, it was just called Scuba Squad or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
They took his figure out and they just repurposed some vehicles, and that never came out either. So
all right.
So it just Man from Atlanta's had 2 shots actually of trying to get released, and it never did.
Yeah, that one seemed like it was cursed from the start there. Okay, maybe you know what this is about. Hey, Blake, you should tell that junk man about Dave Patrick.
He's a big Osmosis Jones fan. We talked about Osmosis Jones earlier. He's probably the guy when it comes to Osmosis Jones.
Okay, I didn't know they had big fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned here that it flopped. I was going to say that's probably why they canceled the line. That's usually why they canceled most of the lines.
Right, but a lot of the stuff, back in the day, even they would do day and date stuff where the product would appear when the movie.
Yeah, at least a
opened.
series one.
Yeah. But a lot of smaller toy companies like Trendmasters, Galoob, that sort of thing, they would hesitate to do that because if it was a flop, well, then they spent a ton of money for no real reason.
Right. Did you touch on any of the old Star Wars stuff?
Star Wars appears in all 3 books.
Okay, because that's almost a book itself.
Yeah, the first book, Star Wars, is the Ewoks and Droids second series, mainly.
Yeah.
And there was also, I was able to get a hold of 4 additional Ewoks figures that were not ever shown, not even in a catalog, that were going to be produced in that line as well. So that's in volume 1. Volume 2, as far as Star Wars, I go through the relicensing process from the mid-90s when Hasbro basically had lost the license to do the toys. And so Lucasfilm brought in Mattel and Playmates and Galoob, had them all come to Skywalker Ranch and do these big blowout presentations to try to get the license. Yeah. So I was able to get a hold of just about a representative from every company who actually was in the room during those and retold the story basically of how that went down. And I also have some images of what some of the Playmates Star Wars stuff may have looked like. Some of their actual pitch pieces.
Yeah.
That they used.
I saw they pitched a Ninja Turtle Star Wars line.
They had done that before, but that was for the Ninja Turtle line. This was when they were actually trying to pick up the Star Wars line. I mean, ultimately, no one ever thought that Lucas would not go back with Hasbro, but he made him pay for it because the first time around he got shafted.
Yeah, I've done a video on that now.
And that wasn't going to happen again.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were all. Yeah, I've heard that Hasbro wasn't too happy with the deal, but they were going to take whatever they could get.
Oh, it was awful. It's like 18% when the normal cut was barely 10, 8 to 10%.
Right.
So he got. I mean, but his deal, he had to split 5% with 20th Century Fox on the early deal.
Right.
So he didn't get near what he should have out of that thing. But I mean, no one knew. He didn't know. Company didn't know.
No.
And the third book has Star Wars in it too, but I haven't said what that is yet, so I'm not going to say.
Okay. Okay. Do you know about a time frame for the third one?
Well, it's going to the printer hopefully in about 2 weeks. It's here's my proof copy of it right here.
Okay.
So hopefully we've gone through the first round of proofing. I'm doing one last shot. I've got another person doing one last shot, and then we're done. We get what we find in the corrected, and then get the files to the printer. Hopefully, no later than the first week of July.
Okay, that's good. See what Jim says. Playmate Star Wars pitch sounds interesting. Get to know behind the scenes lore. Yeah, I don't think I even heard of the Star Wars. Now I knew they pitched it, but I didn't think I've heard any details about it. So that's interesting.
Yeah, volume 2 has a pretty long story about the whole pitch process. It was very interesting to hear what different companies were doing, and it was no surprise that every company thought they had won.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
It was great. We knew we'd won. We knew we'd won.
Yeah,
they didn't really have a chance. I think the fix was in from the start.
Oh yeah, I read that they kind of knew, but I'm surprised Galoob did walk away. They had the micro collection, so at least got a little.
They got a slice, and then 2 years later, Hasbro gobbled them up.
Yeah. Let's see. Any information on unreleased vintage '90s Toy Biz Marvel figures like Spider-Man or X-Men?
There's some of that out there. I was never really. That's Toy Biz was one of those companies that was a tough nut to crack. I know people who used to work at Toy Biz, but as far as actually finding out information about, because I had initially wanted to do the Lord of the Rings line, because I had done Lord of the Rings in the first book, but it was the Toy Vault line from the 2000, or I guess late 90s.
Yeah.
But prior to the movie that was actually licensed based on the literary property, not any kind of film. But then they lost that license once the movies started coming out. But Toy Biz has always been kind of a tough nut to crack. So no, I don't have anything on. I know there was an Iron Man line that had an extension that I think some images are out there that that particular wave didn't come out. There was some other stuff that they had tried. Now, towards the end of Marvel Toys, when basically Toy Biz went away, and there was Marvel Toys for a time, and they were putting out those legendary comic book heroes.
Yeah.
Which was now they had big plans before Marvel decided they didn't want to be in the toy business anymore. So they have, and there's actually a presentation from, I believe, a Comic-Con from several years ago, where I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, where they go through and show a lot of prototypes and a lot of what could have been type stuff that was extensions to that line that they had planned, which is a really interesting thing to see if you're into superheroes, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see here. Is this book available in stores or Amazon?
The book is extremely limited. I never did Amazon. We did Kickstarters for them and funded them that way. So I self-published. Volume 1 was released in 2017 and sold out within about the first year. However, right now on Kickstarter, there is a campaign going on for a reprint of Volume 1. So it's active currently.
Okay. And I'll put a link in the description when we're done to everything.
So if you're interested in Volume 1 at all, that's going to be your best bet, is backing the Kickstarter. There will be some left over that I will probably sell direct. And I have one retail partner, and that's Big Bad Toy Store. So they've taken copies in the past as well. So that's Volume 1. Volume 2 is almost sold out as well on my end. The way you get Volume 2 currently is through Big Bad Toy Store. They have them in stock.
Okay. Is there only a hard copy, or can
it's only a hardback book. I didn't
look at them. It's better to look at them like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I mean, I want people to experience it as a physical thing.
I mean,
and then Volume 3, we had the Kickstarter for earlier this year, and it funded. And so once the books arrive later, sometime in probably late fall, I will have copies, and Big Bad Toy Store will probably have copies as well.
Okay. Let's see what this is. On average per volume, how much did you have to travel for how long to get all the information needed to create a volume?
I did a ton. Volume 1, I was on the road all the time. My wife and I actually had sold our house in Texas, and we bought an Airstream travel trailer and took off for almost 3.5 years driving around the country. I was doing freelance work for my normal gig. All the while I still had the guitar magazine, which I was doing while I was on the road. And we would go, basically, we would drive to California. We would drop anchor, as I said, for a couple of weeks. I would go around and visit these toy guys that were there. We'd get back in the Airstream. We'd go to Cincinnati, visit all the old Kenner people there, go up to New York, visit all the old toy guys there. So, we were on the road for quite a while for Volume 1. Volume 2 was much more air travel, but I did do a ton of traveling. between New York and LA and the Midwest, I probably did 3 to 4 trips each place each time. Volume 3 was quite a challenge because COVID stopped.
Yeah, I was just nice that.
Yeah, we couldn't do it that way. So there was a lot of a lot of video communication, a lot of phone calls. But I was fortunate enough that I had been, now that I'm established, and a lot of people, know that they can trust what I'm doing. I had people sending me stuff through the mail. They would send me drawings and even prototypes on a couple of occasions, where I would take my own photographs and do my own scans and then box them up and send them back. So yeah, Volume 3 was much more of a challenge from a travel standpoint than the other 2 were.
Yeah. Was there any toy line that surprised you that even you didn't know? That you didn't know anything about that kind of shocked you?
Yeah. I mean, there's Volume 3 has more of the I never knew that stuff existed lines than the other books. But in the first book, there was a line being done for the movie Crawl, and I had no idea.
That's the one. I was thinking that's the one that surprised me.
I had no idea that was happening.
Yeah, that's the one, not Dark Crystal. Yeah, I never saw anything about that.
And it was Knickerbocker was doing it. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to visit one of their old art directors and sit in his house and with him going through some old files. And he invited one of the old VPs to his place while I was there, and he showed up. And these guys hadn't seen each other in like 30 years. So it was like I was almost like a fly on the wall at some kind of weird family reunion thing, which was really neat because the guys really genuinely enjoyed each other, and it was pretty cool to be a part of that. But then I also found one of the sculptors who worked on the line. Unfortunately, the other sculptor who had worked on it had already passed away. But I was able to, hold a casting of the Torquil figure in my hand. And I never knew it existed.
Yeah.
Up until that.
Yeah, that's the one. I was thinking Dark Crystal, but when you said it hit me. Yeah, that's the one that surprised me because
I always liked that. I always liked that movie. It's really cheesy, but it had a lot of potential and a lot of toy potential too. Yeah,
that's what surprised they didn't do toy line. That's what Joseph said. It was a great soundtrack. He says I haven't seen it since it came out.
James Horner, that's good. That is a good soundtrack.
Any spotlight on parent groups toy sensors stories?
No, we don't get into that too much. We talk about the deregulation of children's television a little bit when the Reagan administration came in and basically made it okay for toy companies to do 30-minute cartoons that were basically commercials for toy lines.
Yeah.
We talked about that.
There was no toy line canceled because parents get
upset. I don't think that never really entered into being the reason that a specific toy line was outright canceled. At least I haven't run into that.
No, I mean I've heard the Alien line, but I never heard that's exactly the official reason.
Well, I mean there was Alien. Yeah, there's Alien. There's in Volume 2 there was a line called Max Effects that was done by Matchbox. That the whole Freddy Krueger stuff. That is probably the closest that any kind of parental outrage came into play and had product actually snatched off the shelves.
Yeah. Let's see here. Don't see a lot of 007 toys. No.
Missed the market, in my opinion. You need to buy Volume 3, Jim, when it comes out.
Oh, you got some 007 in there? Volume 3? Yeah, I don't see much 00. I'm guessing the company's hard to talk to was Hasbro, Mattel.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to talk with those guys. I never went through proper channels, so to speak. I wasn't trying to get their PR person to let me talk to somebody. I would just call the people directly.
There you
So
go.
I was able to talk to some people who actually still work there, and you know, some of them were a little leery to talk to me. Other ones, they were just fine. I mean, some of the stuff we're talking is 30, 20, 30 years old, and
Yeah, a lot of them people's probably gone.
and
Yeah.
and if it was based on a license, that license is for the most part dead and gone. So they don't mind. I mean, for Mattel for Volume 2, I did a line called Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys. Now, a lot of people don't even remember Captain Simeon and the Space Monkeys, but that was a line that Mattel did with a UK company called Bluebird. Bluebird was famous for Polly Pocket. So there was a whole second series of Captain Simeon that's based on a cartoon, which actually the cartoon is really good. It actually holds up. You want to go back and watch an interesting cartoon from the 90s. So we did that, and I was able to talk with some Mattel people who were on the ground when that was going on. I talked with Bluebird people, that sort of thing. And I was able to talk to some Mattel people who were involved with the Star Wars pitch from the 90s. I talked with some Mattel people about the Fleas line that's in Volume 1 that no one's ever heard of either. That was another Mattel property. There's at least one Mattel property in Volume 3, I believe. And there's a ton of Hasbro stuff. I talked to a lot of ex-Kenner Hasbro people, for sure.
Yeah. What about the UK toy lines? You ever think of doing anything more not US based or?
Yeah, I mean the Bluebird stuff's about as close as I've come to it. I mean there's some stuff. I mean a lot of between the UK and Canada. When you talk about what was it, Imperial Toys? Who was it in Canada that used to do that did like Reboot?
That sounds right. Yeah.
And so there's a few things out there that would be interesting. But man, tell you the truth, I've got my plate full with the United States.
Yeah, and you're flying over to the UK to dig around. When the books are done, any thoughts on campaigning online and getting it crowd? Don't you always do crowdfunding for them?
Yeah, they're all crowdfunded.
Yeah.
So they've all been done Kickstarters.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen, Volume 1 looks like this. This is Volume 2. So you've got gold, silver. So the third book is going to be bronze colored. Volume 3. They're all about Irwin toys, Jim. That's right.
Yeah.
Not Imperial. They're all about 220-ish pages, full color photography, a lot of document scans. And the stories I try to make as compelling as I possibly can. Some of the stuff is kind of boring where you go, okay, the toy line they just didn't make it. Yeah, look, the punchline. The punchline to all these stories is the same. The toys didn't come out. So I would try to find an angle to tell the story.
Yeah, I did a video on the Sea Creatures line, and it was hard to do a video because it's not based on a movie. It's not based on anything. So
yeah, Sea Creatures is in Volume 1. We did that one.
Yeah.
And that was, I tried like hell to find somebody from Sanrio to talk about it, but you're talking about Sanrio in the mid 80s.
Yeah.
That was tough.
Let me see here. So we got any more? No, I guess that's not really a question. I had a car that went underwater, Jim. It's about all okay. Don't know if that might have been to somebody else there. Let's see if I got any more. But so if you matched the crowdfunding for Volume 3, you're all good on that end?
Yeah, we did. We had we were looking for 35,000, I think, on Volume 3, and we did 50, a little over 50,000. So that was really good. That allowed us to do some stretch goals, which unlocked some bonus chapters. So Volume 3 is the longest book of the 3. Volume 1, like I said, is about 220. I think Volume 2 is a little bigger than that, and then Volume 3 is a little bigger than that. I think there's 24 lines, 25 lines covered in Volume 3.
Okay. What about hold on, I got a question here. Well, hold on, I missed it. There it is. Which one do you think is criminal that didn't get greenlit?
Criminal. Well, I mean, that depends. Personal preference would be something like Crawl, because I really would love to have seen that. Last Starfighter is another one.
Yeah, I get a lot of people talking about that.
I would have loved to have seen that happen. From a, oh my God, you did all this work and didn't release these toys. Well, that's something like Osmosis Jones or something like that, that they had done so much stuff and ultimately just said, nope, we're not going to do it. But personally, both Last Starfighter and Crawl, I would have loved to have seen both of those.
Yeah. Yeah, I get a lot of people mention the Last Starfighter to me, and that and V seem like the two people would like to talk about, ask me about. Was there anything from Thunder?
Thunder the Barbarian.
Give me a second,
Yeah, I didn't see anything. Oh, I haven't come across anything on Thundar. I believe that there was some stuff, and I'm not even sure what company it was. It was a while back, though, that there was some Thundar. There would have to probably be some drawings out there at least. I don't know if there are any prototypes.
It seems like I remember some card packaging, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. But it would not surprise me if anything was a cartoon in the 80s or early 90s. Somebody was working on something. I mean, it was just, you can almost guarantee it.
Yeah, I mean,
just because you never saw it doesn't mean that it wasn't worked on. Trust me.
Right. Do you focus just on the toys, or do you go into the packaging any, like the cards?
Yeah, we do. We do packaging art, and as well as drawings for certain lines. Like, just for example, those were so cardback art concepts for Dark Crystal from Volume 1.
Yeah, because I always like to see the package stuff just as much as I do the figure stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there was, the box art for the Landstrider. It never came out. That sort of thing. We did a lot of sculpts, a lot of drawings, a lot of. Sometimes we get into the packaging concepts, especially if they're interesting, or they're so different than actually what was done.
Okay. Were you a collector of action figures, or just like to look into it, or do you collect?
No, I was 8 years old when Star Wars was put out in the theaters. Yeah. So, I mean, I was quite an action figure kid back then. I mean, I probably grew out of it pretty quick, but once Star Wars was reintroduced in the 90s, it kind of lit that fire back in me.
Yeah.
And so I started collecting. I had a huge Star Wars collection in the late 90s and early 2000s. But what I've come to realize is that I call myself, I'm kind of a catch and release collector. I like to find the stuff, but actually hanging on to it and displaying it and everything doesn't really. I mean, sometimes I'll have if I have a toy room, I won't go in there for like weeks on end. So like, what's the point? So
yeah, once you get it, the thrill's gone sometime.
Yeah, so I'm much more of a thrill of the hunt guy than I am an actual possessor of things. I mean, there's some stuff that I've had that I would like to have back, but I just sold for whatever reason. But for the most part, I mean, looking around this place right now, there's a handful of toys, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's about how I am now. About what you see is what you get now, because I started collecting in the 90s, and just that thrill of finding it. Now it's just too easy to find it. So the thrill's gone. Hey, Blake, what's your favorite vintage Kenner Star Wars action figure?
Ooh.
have one.
Probably going to be AT-AT driver.
That's unusual. That's a little different.
And the reason is that was the very last one that I had in my collection for whatever reason. Towards the end, I was either giving them away or when it would flood, we would make little boats, and I would put one of the guys on the boat, and he would go down the gutter, before you race down to the gutter, and he would go down and lose him that way.
Right.
The AT-AT driver, I remember, was the last one I had. I took him to my neighborhood park and strapped about 20 bottle rockets to him.
Oh, God.
Twisted the fuses together and lit him up, and he ended up getting stuck up in some big oak tree, and that was it. Never saw him again.
Fun, though. That's Labyrinth would have made a great toy line. Yeah, that would have probably been a good one. Let's see here. Did you cover the new gods like the Mattel was working on before moving on to He-Man?
Did not. I was trying to get He-Man into Volume 3. I was going to do New Adventures, actually. But at the end of the day, I just couldn't come up with enough material from the people, the contact network that I had was pretty limited on that. So I ended up having to leave it out.
What about any good play sets?
Yeah, I mean, we do play sets as well. I mean, there's some stuff in we do in Volume 3. We're doing Skeleton Warriors,
okay,
and there are some play set concepts from Skeleton Warriors that I don't think anybody's really seen that are in Volume 3. There are some play set concepts from. I know a couple of the other lines for sure. There was the one from Dinosaurs that a lot of people have seen already, though. Lava Dome playset that we cover in Volume 3 as well.
There was a castle plan for Bill and Ted, and I remember they showed it off at a toy fair, and I would love to wonder whatever happened to that.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
There was that, and I think a couple one of the cars. I did a video on them, but. I think it was a Series 2 plan, but let me see. More questions here. I don't know if that's a question or not. David Bowie painted threat for 5. Okay, got me on that one. Big trouble. I don't know. Is that a question? Somebody asked about. There you go. What's your thoughts on Super 7 doing with retro style figures? Any thoughts on that?
I think that Reaction started out as a really good idea that kind of lost its way after Super 7 and Funko teamed up. Now that Super 7 has it back, I think that it's back on course. The problem with the real problem with Reaction is the price point.
Yeah, I was going to say
and that. I don't fault Super 7 for that, because they're a very small company, so that's what they have to do to make things work. But when you're talking about an $18 Reaction figure versus a $20 Marvel Legend, which way are you going to go? You're probably
and it's hard to get a whole series when they're $20 a piece, but you can understand they're small run and they got to pay their license rights and everything.
Yeah, so I think that the Alien line that they did, the very first Reaction, was very good. I think the continuation of that has been fairly solid. But the company that I keep going back to, that if you really like retro style figures, the company that did it right was Warpo. They're not around anymore, unfortunately, but they only
I can't remember that.
They did that one series of Legends of Cthulhu, which was a Kickstarter, which is actually in Volume 2, because we did a thing with them because they had plans for a second series, but they couldn't make the numbers work. But those figures that they did for that line were outstanding. They looked like Star Wars. They looked like vintage Star Wars figures. They fit in with the later, with the Return of the Jedi style figures almost seamlessly.
Well, that's good because even with Super 7, they just don't look something about them. I can't really place your finger on it, but I was like, they just don't look.
Yeah,
They look like they made to look old.
The fun when they were Funko was doing it and churning them out, the figures looked very soft, and they were also tapered to where their shoulders would come in bigger and their waist would come in smaller, and you're right, they didn't look right.
Yeah, it looked a little more like somebody trying to make something look old than something that was old.
So I mean, I'm happy I'm glad the Super 7 has it back and they're able to do what they can do with their with their stuff. I'm a fan of their Ultimates lines, but man, they're expensive too.
Yeah. Let's see what this. I think we cover working in retail in the 70s, cartoons and shows, notebooks. Yeah, you said you stuck to the toys, right?
Yeah, we did. I mean, occasionally I would mention if a toy line had other products that were released. Like V, for example, you talked about that earlier. There were, lunch kits and board games and role play and all that stuff, but the figures never made it. Yeah. So I mention those, but I don't get into them visually usually.
Okay. Well, I think we're almost an hour, so we're going to wrap it up. But tell them again how to get or where to go, and I'll put your links in the video also.
For Volume 1, which is the first one that's been sold out for a while, there's an active Kickstarter right now. Just go out to Kickstarter, type in Toys That Time Forgot, and you'll see it come up. It's the Toys That Time Forgot Volume 1 reprint is what it's called. We've already funded, so there's not going to be any issue in getting it done. But if you want a copy of Volume 1, that is the way to do it.
Okay, and I just put a link in the chat for people out there to click on that.
Volume 2, there are two ways to currently get that. You can buy it directly through me, which if you want to, you can just message me through the book's Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Toys That Time Forgot. Or you can go directly to Big Bad Toy Store. They have Volume 2 in stock right now. For Volume 3, you're going to have to wait just a little bit because we did the Kickstarter for that earlier this year. It funded, so we are getting ready to send it to the printer. Basically 3 and the reprint of 1 are going to be printing at the same time. And so we expect to get those back here sometime, hopefully, in October, November-ish timeframe. But given the fact that the container ship issue from China is an issue right now, I hope that we're not delayed because of that. But then Volume 3 will be for sale both directly through me and through Big Bad Toy Store.
Okay. And then it's time to start on 4, right?
Well, the idea was to do a trilogy. So we've done the trilogy, and now we'll have to see what.
It might be good. I mean, I don't know if it's interested you, but do a spin-off where it's not just action figures, maybe.
I mean, we talked about doing a girls one. We talked about doing doing other toys. We talked about doing just rare toys, not necessarily unproduced toys. So I mean, there's a lot of leg room to work with this kind of stuff. We'll figure out what the next move is probably before the end of the year. Right now, I'm just really focused on getting 3 into everybody's hands.
I got you. Yeah, some of the rare figures are just as hard. I mean, I've found lines I didn't like. A Fall Guy action figure. I was like, I didn't know they did that. So sometimes just those little small lines that was 2 or 3 figures of just as okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything else. Well, we've been talking about doing this interview for about a year, so I'm glad we finally got it. I think it was about a year ago when I first reached out to you, and things got crazy, and I stopped doing interviews, so we're back. But anyway, I want to thank you for coming on, talking with me, and
yeah, man.
And then when you do another volume or you want to talk another one, just let me know, and we'll do it again.
Sure thing. Yeah, man. It's been fun. I love talking. I love talking about this stuff. So anytime.
Yeah, I do too. I make a video every day, so I ain't got old yet. But okay, we'll talk again. Thanks.
All right, thanks, bud.
Well, that was Blake Wright.